Hey family, welcome back. So, today we're gonna go over prehistoric art again. We're just gonna go a little bit more in depth. Probably wondering what's going on. Well, we had a kind of a paint day and we decided to practice, some still art, channel our inner Cezanne and painting some flowers today. That's why this is how this video looks right now. But as I'm thinking about prehistoric art and how most things that I know about prehistoric art are those cave paintings that we talked about the other day, I'm going to show you a picture probably right below me of what exactly I was thinking of. And I decided I need to learn a little bit more about prehistoric art because we didn't really go over the pottery. We kind of loosely went over the intentions and how art is classified. If this is prehistoric, who classifies this as art? Is that us? Are we giving the meaning of art to these wall paintings? Did the cavemen, the Cro-Magnons, the Neanderthals, did they decide that this was art that they're making? So I decided to watch a video by Travis Lee Clark. He's a PhD professor from the University of Utah. He has a YouTube video. I'll link that in the description if you want to watch it. It's 2 hours long, a little hefty. He goes from prehistoric all the way to contemporary art right now, and there's a great link of information there that I'm definitely gonna be watching because it's free and it's on YouTube. So why not, right? Learn more. He goes over the one of the oldest pieces that we found, right? And this piece was found in. I'm also gonna put the picture in the below me. Is Makapangat's Valley in Africa. It's like southern Africa, almost near the Horn. And they found this little pebble. This little pebble doesn't belong here. It said it belonged about 30 kilometers away. I don't think he mentioned if it was south or north or like what those 30 kilometers meant. But these dudes and women walked, right? And essentially found this pebble because this pebble has 2 holes and a little hole, like a third hole, and it resembles a face. So one of the slides below, he goes over what makes art art, and one of them is the conceptual or cognitive assessment and attaching or projecting memory, emotion, and assimilating / reinterpreting this object to something that we have in our memory. So since humans are so adept in facial recognition, because for survival, that's a whole different topic, right? Why did we need facial recognition? And that's because as there are Cro-Magnons and as there are Neanderthals, maybe there are other species that we just couldn't mate with and we couldn't, assimilate with, and we just needed recognition to make sure that we could see who we could mate with and reproduce to further the evolutional chain. But like I said, that's a whole nother topic that I probably will not get into. And that little pebble they found, to get back on the topic, had little etchings on it. There's this thing in art, realism versus abstract. That's what it kind of boils down to in my head. But this piece of pebble had etchings on it. So was it just an object when they picked it up because they thought this shiny rock looked cool? And did it become art once they put the etching on it? Of course, that's up to, interpretation from anyone, whether it was art as soon as that assimilation and reinterpretation happened of us projecting our likeness onto it, right? This Cro-Magnon, I don't think they were Cro-Magnons. They picked it up because they liked it. Now, does that make it art? Now, another side of that is it wasn't art until these people put scratchings on it. I don't know. I think since they attached or projected, saw their likeness in the rock, and took the time to pick up the pebble and keep it and walk it 30 kilometers somewhere else, that is art. Them defacing it or adding additional structures, etchings on it, is just them becoming an artist. So nature made the art, and the person that picked it up became an artist by changing it. Because one of the great quotes attributed to Picasso is that good artists borrow, great artists steal, right? So this person, not saying that they stole it from Earth, right? From Mother Earth, and made it to their own. So they became the artist, while the piece of art is still functionally art. That's just my interpretation of it. Further on the lecture, because he goes over this little handmade axe that people use to, cut fur. It's you go on YouTube Shorts, you watch those guys and girls get like deer antlers, and they make like little machetes out of sharp obsidian or sharp opal or some kind of rock, right? That they make they make an object out of it. Those things are essentially hand axes, and they use it to either skin or just skin an animal, or, cut up its intestines, whatever the case is. But his interpretation of it, since this is being made for millions and millions of years, his interpretation of it is that since they keep crafting and they keep passing it down, that it became one of those things, or culture. He defines culture in this seminar. Since they keep making this hand axe, that hand axe is also art, because they make it one specific way, and then they keep attempting to make it better with harder material to work with that could either be sharper, more durable, or just looks prettier, right? So these tribes and people are crafting something, but for modern standards, maybe they're just crafting it to survive, but for modern standards, they are creating something, and that something has use, whether it's for a job, right, to like hunt, or it's just to showcase that, hey, I can make the best hand axe, you should marry me, and this is how my family has been making hand axes, and this is what we've come up with. And that they showcase it like a piece of art. This is what I can do. I'm the creator of this object, and I want to show it to you. And I hope you like this pretty rock that I made. And right, that's what we do with diamonds. But the hand axe, if the hand axe is the first piece of art, then art dates back to millions and millions of years rather than the past, I don't know, was it 30,000 years or something, of when we think art actually started. Now, he goes over the cave paintings, and it was very interesting because I was asking in our previous video whether they had what intentions that they have with this piece of art that they're creating, or this thing that they're putting on the wall. And he goes over how they didn't make these cave paintings in the front of the cave, or most of them aren't made in the front of the cave. They didn't make it to where they threw their trash. They didn't make it where they they prepared their food. They made it specifically in the deepest parts of these caves, that they didn't leave traces of garbage or other used products, and it seemed like something that they would do for a ritual. And there are moments in these cave paintings where prior paintings were there, and other artists, other shamans, which he calls them shamans. Maybe the first case of a shaman is an artist, and the first case of an artist is a shaman, and these guys are putting it on the wall are trying to project their will and trying to visualize killing the animal in some cases. But there's also some cases in the cave paintings where it seems like they're just drawing it for fun. And right now, we're going to go over this painting that I'm making, this painting that I'm in right now, because I wanted to channel that inner caveman feeling of how they visualized and how they drew these paintings, because they only had certain amount of color. They only had, it was ochre. Like he goes about how ochre isn't something that you just find randomly. You have to go search for it. They had intention, they had intentionality in the fact that they walked down this cave, right? The deepest part of the cave, they walked down, put these wall paintings on, and they used items that you had to intentionally find to put it on the wall. And they also had the ingenuity to understand over time, I'm assuming, and also Dr. Clark's assumption is that they understood over time that if they didn't have some kind of binding agent, that it wouldn't stick to the wall for as long as they wanted to. So these, these tribes would put animal fat, or I don't know, maybe human fat, human blood, whatever the case is. Maybe they really like Rothko, and my bad. And wanted to make it stick to the wall more, right? And to bind it. And they figured that out. They had ingenuity to progress what they're trying to do. And you can tell that they're progressing their ideas for these wall art because they paint over previous ones that were done before. You can see, I wish I could be there, right, to show you, but you can see where things were duller, some things are brighter, like the cave painting. Some of them are duller, some are brighter, some have been painted over. Some of them, I'm assuming, after analyzing it, they could tell what they used. Now, I might have to look deeper into that, but this lecture did answer a lot of my questions on what makes art and where art could have possibly have started and what is its purpose in humanity. Now, we can't really get too deep into the psychology of the Cro-Magnons and the Neanderthals just because it's very hard to put yourself in the mindset of a tribe that could have possibly not have been able to speak as fluent. Like, they didn't have as many words. So it as I'm finding it very hard to speak on them, right? Maybe I am channeling my inner Cro-Magnon here. And it's just hard to place yourself in their shoe, have empathy for them, because we're not hunter-gatherers anymore. We're not praying to nature. But that's also one thing that I need to look more into, because in the African art, African wall art, so we figured out intentionality, right? With the pebble and the etchings and the cave paintings of how real they are, realism, and that has meaning to them because it's an object that they can see in the wild and they paint it, whether it's horses, lions, buffaloes, bisons, whatever the case is. They saw it and they painted it, and that's what they have. And this might be the case for somewhere in Europe, but all I know is that in Africa, they made paintings of their gods, of who they believe the thunder gods are, and these are their interpretations of nature. And I think I need to further understand that, because that is a form of abstraction that we somewhat see in these cave paintings in Europe. And he kind of goes over that, how they have a realism, right? They have a realism to them in the shape of how the animal is sitting, what its anatomy looks like. You can tell they've been looking at this animal for a while, but then they take shortcuts, which he gives an example of how it's too hard to draw a mouse's ear, Mickey Mouse, too hard to draw his ear over and over again when you're making a cartoon. So they took a shortcut and just made it to a circle. And the cave paintings in France did the same exact thing. They draw the bull anatomically correct, but they took shortcuts in drawing its horns, because I'm sure it's tedious. Perspective, it looks weird. Perspective is probably hard to manage when it's just a wall. That's realism, right? That is when people think of art, they think of how hyper real can it be prior to the invention of cameras. This is how they made art. But then after cameras, we got really deep into abstraction. But the people in Africa, who, you know, Picasso, Gauguin, all those famous artists have taken something from them. These guys have been doing abstraction this whole time via these cave paintings of them drawing their thunder god, which is the most top of mind example that I have, just because it was in the book, that they drew what they thought the thunder god would look like, and they made him in their image. You know, tall, lanky, has a face, but they can control lightning. It's the only difference. They're like, this guy's human, you can just control lightning. Or, you know, maybe it wasn't even a thunder god. Maybe it was just someone that they thought was, like, you know, cute or whatever, and they wanted to draw a painting of them and be like, hey, look how great I painted you, and I put you on a wall, and you never responded back to my rock. Oh, you never got the rock. Someone took the rock. Alright, I'm rambling. But next video, I think we're gonna go over the painting. You probably don't even see the painting that I'm painting, but we're gonna go over how I channeled kind of the cave paintings and the Cro-Magnon's mentality, and how I just used what I visually saw and with minimal use of paint and color, because they didn't have as many paint and color, and just we'll just go over it real quick and kind of what it looks like. But thanks for watching. I love you guys, and you have a great day. Okay, I know this is probably not as informative as it could be, but one day this shit's gonna be crazy information. Gonna blow you guys' mind.